Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the porch. This is take three. We're going to get this right yet. My internet, my computer, whatever it is messing up. I am here with my baby sister, Carol, tonight. And thank you, Carol, for joining me. We're going to get this conversation done and hopefully we don't get shut off again. So, we are talking about the let them theory. Let them. So, Carol and I have been talking about this a lot, and she's been doing a lot of studying. So, Carol, once again, as we go through this, I want to start all over again. First of all, I want you to tell people what you do because this will be this will be the final recording. So, what do you do?
I am a special ed teacher. I work for Riverway Learning Community. We are an environmental charter school in Winona, Minnesota. We do a lot of outdoor learning. So we do a lot of hiking and biking, and we do a lot of teaching outside. Our academics are even taught outside. We have outdoor classrooms, and it's a very, very nice environment for our students. But as a special ed teacher, it is extremely nice. We have a lake that we can walk around and talk, and it's a nice place. So that's what I do.
Awesome. And so you're a special ed teacher and I'm just going to go on. So guys, if you're here, say hello in the comments. I want to apologize for that for the technology. We're getting there. So as a special ed teacher, what grades do you teach?
Well, I am primarily a middle school teacher. So
Okay.
I teach 7th, 8th, and 9th primarily.
Okay.
I also
Okay.
do replacement classes for like 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Okay.
And then this summer I had 5th and 6th graders also.
And that was a fun summer. You took them fishing and did gardening and
yes,
so
we went and hiking and fishing and out on the river and things.
So a fun environment to be in for sure. So, but anyway, so you were talking about the let them theory. So if you could once again explain that to us, because now I see we got people coming on. If you could explain the let them theory, what you thought it was and what you actually found out it was.
So I thought it was, and I liked it. And I really wanted to get the tattoo. I was like, oh, I want that tattoo because I thought to let them talk kind back. Think they want about you. Let them do what let them, like what they think about you is not your problem and blah blah blah. So then I bought audiobooks because I have Audible on Amazon. I started listening to this book. And I was pretty well, it's kind of that way. I was off base a lot. Let them theory is let them live their lives. Stop trying to help them. Stop trying to make them do what you want them to do. Because all this causes stress and it causes the relationship. And it listening to the book, and it's like, oh my God, she wrote that chapter about me. And then I'd be like, oh my God, I wrote that chapter about my sister. Oh my God, she wrote that chapter about my brother. It's very, it's very interesting. I will re-listen to the book multiple times. I think I'm on chapter 13 right now, and I've been.
But this book is on Audible, which is on Amazon. Which is on Amazon,
get it
right?
On any audio book.
Okay.
And
is there a written version of the book too? And we lost her. But I do believe so. Carol, as she comes back in, we'll wait for her to come back on. we are really having some technical difficulties here. But as we're doing this, the let them is part of the theory that emphasizes accepting others as they are, allowing them to have their own opinions, make their own choices, and experience their own emotions, even if those differ, from your own. It doesn't matter if their emotions are different than yours, if their opinions are different from yours. You need to let them experience
Are you
those
there, Deb?
emotions. Yep, I'm here. We were just explaining that we need to let them experience their own emotions, their
I
own.
don't know if anybody can see me.
Yep,
Hello?
yep. Yes, hello. I can see you. You're on. You're good.
Says
Can you see
recording
me?
hasn't started.
No, it has. It's here.
I can
We're
see
here.
you. Okay.
Okay. All right. We're
Okay.
good.
I don't know what
We're
happened.
good. Yeah, no, that's okay. Like I said, we're having some technical. I think it's just the heavy air tonight. So, but you guys, so if you're here and you're online, have you ever heard of the Let Them? Hi, Tammy. And it can be read in the paper form. Okay, so Tammy said yes,
Yeah.
there is a book form. Okay,
Yes.
thank you for that, Tammy.
Yes.
It's nice to have you here, honey. So with that, Carol, then the let them theory is let them experience their own emotions. So we have been talking
Mhm.
on the porch about our own spiritual journeys. And this is the thing is, so as we're walking, and my big thing is this is your path. Only you can walk this path. But we try to have tell other people how to walk their path.
Right.
We try to tell other people how to experience their path. I don't care if it's in their life, if it's in religion, if it's in whatever, even in their walk with God. But it is their path, and let them
Let's go.
experience their own path. And that is
Right.
exactly what this is allowing people to have their own opinions, but also it's their own choices, but it's also their own consequences.
Yep. Let them make their own mistakes.
Right.
Let them.
Let
And
them
then the
fear.
second. Yep. And then the second part of that is let me.
Let me
Let me
theory.
control my own feelings, my emotions.
Mm.
How am I going to react to that? How
Right.
am I going to? I was getting eaten alive outside. I had to come inside.
Oh, that's okay. Sorry.
But how am I going to react to what they did or said or whatever? How am
Right.
I going to do that? It's my emotions. So let me.
So give me an example. Give us an example of let me.
So let me. Okay. So in it's the let me portion of that is how am I going to. Yep, I am pissed. I am upset that Joe did that. Joe went out, spent all of his money. Now Joe can't pay his rent. Joe asked me to help him pay his rent. I am pissed. I am upset. So I did the let them, but I'm still mad. I am still just angry. Why?
So
Why
where
am I
does the
angry?
let me come? Where
The
does
let
the let me
me
come?
is let me let it go. Let me control my emotions. How am I going to react to the situation?
Right.
So somebody threw his worms into the river because they were in a ball and he's mad. Let him.
Right.
He's looking for a reaction from me. I'm not going to give him one. Well, that's your choice. If that's
Right.
what you want, have at it. I'm going to walk away.
Right.
You can be mad
So
if you want. That's
them.
your choice. Let them do what they're going to do. Let me not give them the reaction they're looking for.
But
Let
also
me
let me
not
have my
enable
own
them.
opinions.
But don't let me get stressed because of what they did. Let me
Right.
not try to fix what they did. Let me not enable those behaviors. Because when you step in and you try to fix and you try to fix and you try to fix, it increases your anxiety. It increases their dependability. They depend on you more.
Right.
It increases, and then they want more. You enable
Right.
them. They expect that from you, which
Right.
increases, and then there's a strain put on your relationship. So let them make their mistakes, walk away. Let me not worry about it. You can worry about it in your head, but let me not show them that I'm worried.
So
Let me
you
be able
also,
to let me
right.
be able to walk away. Let me take care of me.
So you also were saying in her book, she talked about her neighbors going on vacation and she's seeing it on
Yeah.
social media and her getting upset. Could you tell us about that?
Yes. So one of the things that she talked about is all of her friends, all of her neighborhood friends that she raised her kids with, and there were like 5 or 6 of them. And she was on Facebook and she was kind of going through Facebook and she saw that they all went on vacation together. And she said, all of a sudden I was like doom scrolling. I was on all their pages and I'm looking at all their pictures and I was just angry. And I was yelling at my husband about how they left me out and how dare
Like,
they
where's
all go
my
on
invite?
vacation together and not invite me. And I guess he looked at her and said, you haven't talked to them in 4 years. Why are you mad? It's proximity. She didn't even live by them anymore.
Oh,
Mm-hmm. It's
but
proximity. She's like, I was angry, but she had not put herself out there to be invited to something like that. My example, and that one hit home because some friends of mine went to a concert and they actually sent a picture of them waving. And I did. Little Green Monster came out like, oh, they're up in the cities at a concert? They didn't even tell me they were going to a concert in the cities. Well, they know me very well. I do not want to go to a concert where there's 5,000 people because that's a lot of people and my anxiety would go through the roof. And
it's really
I know
people-y.
it's very people-y. And you know me, if anybody knows me, I'm not a people-y person.
No.
Anyway, so they know me well. And so to invite me to something like that I would tell them no anyway.
But you were
And
still upset.
but I was still like, oh, they were right up in the cities. And they went to this concert. And it was like an outdoor concert. I love outdoor concerts. No, you loved outdoor concerts in your 20s, Carol. Not now, you don't. So it's one of those things that then I had, and I'm listening to this audiobook and I'm like, oh
I'm
God,
not
I just did
laughing
that.
at you. I just know you. So
Yeah. And it's like, so I'm listening to this audiobook and I'm like, oh my God, I just did that. And they like sent a picture like, hey, we're here. We're together. Hi.
we
Like
miss you.
it's like they thought of me,
Yeah.
but I still took it as like, oh, well, they didn't invite me
Right.
because they knew that I would not want to go to something like that. So it was
Right.
like they did think of me, but yeah. So that was the let me. Like I needed to control my own emotions about something and think about why I was upset.
Right.
Why was
That's hard.
It is.
Wow.
So
That's like an aha moment.
It is. The whole book is an aha moment, to be honest with you, when I'm listening to this. And it's like, and not all of it pertains to me. Like some of it, she talked about becoming a podcaster and getting her business going and different things like that. But there's little bits and pieces, and it's funny. She tells jokes, and it's one of those things where I used to be an avid reader, and about 2 years ago, I went into a very deep depression, and I've been trying to get back into reading. I used to read 2 books a week. I used to read all the time. That's what I did, is I read. And I was actually going to read this book. I want to read the book. And then I'm like, no, you're not, Carol. You haven't read a book in years. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to listen to the audiobook. I'm going to listen to the audiobook. And I've been drying herbs from our school garden, like hours on end, because I come home with huge baskets full of herbs to dry, which means they have to soak in water, and then you have to separate them, and you have to clean them, and you have to cut them, and then you have to put them in the dryer, and then you have to let them dry, then you have to take them out of the dryer, and you have to take all the stems off. It's a process. Yesterday morning, 3 hours of processing herbs.
Okay, so I want to just stop you right there, because processing herbs, do you find some peace in that though?
I do. My joints don't, but my mind does.
Right, right. And but I think that's a lot. That's a big piece of it. Is you're finding your peace.
Yep, and listening to the book on top of that. So I'm processing these things, and I'm doing something with my hands, but I'm also doing something with my mind by listening to this book. And it has brought me peace, and it has brought me joy. Because like I said, these aha moments with this book, and I'm not saying everybody is going to have these aha moments, and some of them I'm like, and some people are going to listen to this book and be like, no, that is not me. But it talks about relationships and toxic relationships, and how you get into toxic relationships over and over and over and over because you want to find love. And you that's all you're looking for. Like, I'm looking for love. I'm looking for love. I'm looking for love. And you will get into a relationship so fast because you want to find love, and you're so desperate to find love that you see love where love really isn't there, because you don't know, you really don't know what love is. So there are hard things in this book. It's, and as an adult looking, we have younger people in our lives that we see doing these things, but we have to let them do these things. We have to let them make their own mistakes.
And it's not even younger people. There's older people in our lives that are still doing these things that we can see, but then letting them, and, for me, like I said, I don't want to see my kids fail. I don't want to see them fall. But I know that sometimes they have to make their own mistakes in order to learn from them. They can't learn from my mistakes, or from my opinions, or from my suggestions.
And she talks about rock bottom. And that's in the chapter that I'm in right now. She's talking about rock bottom. And, I learned about rock bottom in all the classes that I took, between my criminal justice degree and my education degrees. It talks about rock bottom a lot. And I know everybody has heard that term and how rock bottom is different for everybody else. But the way that she talks about rock bottom is, it has a very different twist on it. And I'm just listening to that chapter now, but it is.
Is the book called Them? Is that what the book is called?
The Let Them Theory.
And who wrote that book? Do you know?
Oh God, Mel, I can't think right off the top of my head.
Okay, if anybody is on and you know who wrote the Let Them Theory book, put it in the comments. And I have a question for everybody that's online. So as we're talking about this, can you, and don't tell me who it is or whatever, but can you identify with the people in your life that you need to let them, but also let you And I, as I'm going to and I'm listening to you, Carol, and I'm going through all of the scenarios in my life. I think that this is absolutely something that we all need to just focus on. But once again, we're talking about our spiritual journey. What is our goal? Our goal, my goal is to have everybody be happy, but my ultimate goal is so when I die, that I can meet God. And for me, in the words that I use, I want to hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. I want to know that that's for me. That doesn't mean that it's for everybody else, but that is my goal. Mel Robbins. Thanks, Karen.
Mel
Does that
Robbins.
sound
Yeah.
right? Mel
Yeah.
Robbins. Thank you, Karen. Um, but what is your ultimate goal in your walk, in your thing? Let me, because we try to define what other people's goal is in their life, and we need to let them figure that out for themselves.
Yeah. So that's the let them figure out what they need to do to set their own goals. Let me figure out what I'm going to do with myself to set my own goals.
Right. And
You
like I said,
know,
the thing is my thing is that this is their walk. This is
mhm,
your walk. You can't walk where I need to go. You can't tell me how I need to think or what I need to do. And like I said, this is on the porch. This goes to our religion, our faith, our everything, our relationship with God. We need to let people have a relationship with God that is theirs. We need to let
right.
them have relationships in their life. We need to let them make mistakes. But I love this
Yeah.
let me part of it, is let me
Yeah.
have my own emotions. But
Yeah.
also let me not take on your problems. Let me not take on your emotions because they're yours to own.
Yeah.
It's your story. Ah,
Yeah.
and as I'm thinking
And
about this, we need to let them write their own story, but we need to also write our own. We need to write our story.
and Deb, you and I were talking before we figured out that we weren't live. We were
Yeah,
talking about how God gave us free will. And it's
absolutely.
almost like that was the let them portion of his. And then, like with Jesus, we're to let them. And then the
Right,
let me is, how am I going to deal with this in the end?
right,
That's his portion of your journey,
right.
is his let me portion. So the let them is
Oh,
that free will that he gave you. And that's kind of what everybody has free will.
right,
So you have to let them have their free will. They're going to make choices, good or bad or indifferent. You have to let them have those choices. Just like God let us have our choices by giving us free will.
right. And so isn't this just weird? And like I said, this is just kind of random, but over the course of our lives, we grew up in a very Christian home. We had whatever, we all kind of went our own ways. We're all finding our own ways back in our path to where God is leading us. And it's so strange because the thing is this is what the porch is all about. Let them have their relationship with God the way they need to have it. Don't tell them how to
Mm-hmm.
have that relationship. Let them have their own relationship in their own way, the way that God created them with God. But let me also have my own walk and my own relationship. And you and I have talked many years about the differences in what we believe.
Yep.
We were both brought up the same way, but we have both had a lot of different adult experiences and
Yep.
maybe even young adult experiences that weren't the same. And just because we're sisters doesn't mean that we're going to have the same path and the
Yep.
same walk.
Yep. And if everybody's spirituality was a cookie cutter and everybody's outlook on life was cookie cutter, so be it.
Hmm.
You know, um then everybody would fit into the church, and everybody would fit into, they would interpret the Bible the same way. They would
And there'd
interpret the
only be one
scriptures.
church.
Right. There would be one church, and there would
Right.
be one faith, and there would be, you know, yeah, it's not. And so, you know, when we talk about Christianity, and I believe in, you know, the Christianity portion of that, but it's more of a spiritual journey.
Right.
How do you want to live your life? You know, and like you had said, I don't go to church. I don't. I don't think that makes me a bad person. If you think it makes me a bad person because I don't go sit in a pew and with other people that go to church, that's your opinion. I will let you have that. I will let them think that, and then I will let me move on with my life. But I live my life to help with the betterment of other people's children.
Right.
And so my spiritual journey is to show kids that might not have a great outlook on life, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
But your outlook on life is also to show them love that they may never have experienced in their life. You
And
love
structure.
them, and
structure.
but you love them unconditionally with
Yeah.
structure, with grace, with discipline, and with boundaries.
Yep.
And
And one of my main sayings is when they get into trouble that we will always accept our consequences of our actions with grace and dignity. And I explain what that means to all of my students.
we will always accept our consequences with grace and dignity. I love that. I
Yep.
love that.
Because if we can do that, we're not going to get angry because we got caught smoking in the bathroom, because that is a choice that we made to do.
Right.
We chose to take that vape out and smoke in the bathroom.
Right.
And we got busted because you're 13 and you're dumb. And our school is one hallway. You know what I mean? And, you know, so now you will pay the consequences of those actions. And
Right.
you will accept the consequences of those actions with grace and dignity. Meaning, yes, I did that.
Right.
What is my consequence? Oh, I'm going to have, I'm going to get detention for the next 3 Tuesdays. And I'm going to help sweep floors, or I'm going to weed the gardens for the next 3 Tuesdays, or I'm going to pull wheat, you know, whatever I'm going to do for the next 3 Tuesdays. I'm going to vacuum floors. I'm going to sweep. I'm going to pull weeds. I'm going to shovel paths. I'm going to do whatever. Depends on the time of year. What
But
I'm going
once
to do.
again, it's their consequences for their actions.
Yes. And they are going to accept them with grace and dignity because they did.
That's a hard lesson.
It is a hard lesson, but it's one of those things that, again, let them.
Right.
And then it's the
But if you don't, what happens when you don't let them?
When you don't let them accept those with grace and
their
dignity.
consequences. Yes. What happens to us when people don't let us?
We start depending on them to step in, and it's enabling them to continue to have those same behaviors.
Right.
They think that they can continue to do those things. So let's say that young man that threw his worms into the river, and if his mom was like, well, I think I'm just going to go buy him some more worms, and went and bought him some more worms, that young man is going to think that he can just throw those, when he doesn't like those worms, throw those worms in the river, and my mom's going to go buy me more worms anyway, even though she told him she wasn't going to.
Right.
So you're encouraging behavior of, so if I were to step in and fight let's say Joey was the one that was vaping in the bathroom, and I'm like, well, can we give him a pass this time? His dad was just put in jail, blah, 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 blah. Or mom he got screamed at by his mom last night, and he's just really stressed. Can we give him a pass this time? If I did that for that kid, that is not allowing that kid to accept the consequences of his actions with grace and dignity. That is me stepping in and allowing that child I'm enabling him to continue to do those bad behaviors.
So this let them theory is really in absolutely every aspect of our life.
Yeah.
Let me theory is applicable to every aspect in my life.
Yeah.
And as we're sitting here talking about this, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, God speaks to me in different ways than he maybe speaks to you. But right now, God is speaking to me because, man, Deb, you need to let them believe what they believe. But then they need to let me preach the way I need to preach, teach the way I need to teach, live the way I need to live. And I cannot. I can't allow people to once again block my journey and my path because I need to let me, but I need to let them do what they're going to do because people are going to do what they're going to do no matter what you say.
They're going to judge you. They are going to talk behind your back. They are going to point fingers. They are going to call you names. They are going to let them. Who cares?
As a woman pastor, I have been denied business with people. As a woman pastor, I have been told that I'm going to hell if I do not repent of my sin. As a woman pastor, I've been told so many things. And all I can think in the back of my mind is, no, God put me on this earth to help people grow in their spiritual journey and to become closer to him and walk and experience his love for ourselves. And like I said, that's my job. And the more that we talk about this let them theory and let me theory, the more God is speaking, I think, louder to a lot of people, is saying, hey, you know what, wherever you are in your life, let them, it doesn't matter. Because if you know your goal, if you know where you're headed, if you know who you want to be, and you can let me, the let them's going to take care of itself.
Mm-hmm.
Really, the let them is going to just take care of itself.
Yep.
If you can just let me.
The letting them, and the first time that she heard the term let them, this Mel, it was her son's prom. And she's like, she didn't even think her son was going to go to prom. And a week before prom, he's like, Mom, prom's in a week. And she's like, what? He's like, yeah, I need a tux. Prom's in a week. And she's like, holy crap. She's like, oh my God. And she's like, and then she's like, because her daughters were like 6 months before prom, they had everything planned. The restaurants were done. The limos were done. The dresses were bought. The salons were booked. Everything was done 6 months in advance. Her son, 6 days. And then she didn't even know he had a date. And then the night before prom, he said, oh, yeah, we got to go pick up whatever her name was. I don't remember what her name was. And she's like, you have a date? So then she went and got her a wrist massage. Like, she bent over backwards and got this wrist massage. And he's like, Mom, don't do that. Don't do that. She doesn't want one. And, and then Mel in her head, she's like, yes, she does. Every girl wants a wrist massage. It's prom. They have to have one. I'm going to get this corsage for her.
Right.
Went out and got the corsage for this girl. And the girl walks in and had made her own wrist corsage. Mm-hmm. So, yep.
Wow.
And they had all bought like Converse high tops, the girls and the guys. These white Converse high tops. That's what they all wore to prom. And it was pouring down rain. Okay. And all the parents, none of them had made reservations to go out to eat. And there were like 30 kids.
Wow.
And it's pouring down rain. They didn't have any rides. None of them had brought umbrellas. And so the parents are like frantically trying to call taxi or Ubers and whatever. And the kids are like, no, we're walking to like a Del Taco that sat like 15 people in the whole thing. That's where we're going to eat. And, and she's like, you can't go to Del Taco. You can't have prom dinner at Del Taco. And then her daughters come up to her and she goes, let them eat at Del Taco. Let them. She's like, they'll ruin their shoes. Let them ruin their shoes. Let them. That is their choice. If that's what they want to do, let them.
Yeah.
Let them do it. And she had to back away. And she's like, I fumed all night long. And he came in and they got drenched. The girls' hair all got ruined, but they had the best night. Yep, they ruined their shoes. They ruined those tuxes. They had to pay for, the whatever for the tuxes. But they had the best night.
Right.
Because we let them do what they needed to do.
And that
Let
is
them.
such a hard lesson. It is
Yep.
such a hard lesson. And I know for me, I just, like you said, our family, we want to fix things. We want to make everybody's life better. We want to help where we can. We want to do those things. And sometimes we need to just let them do things. Not to judge them, not to do anything else. And I always tell my kids, and I say this a lot, if they ask for my opinion, I'll give it to them. But I always tell them, you take what you need and leave the rest behind. Because you need to let them make their decisions. Let them fall flat on their face or rise way above what you could ever give them advice for.
Yep. And the thing is
that's a
that if
tough
you
lesson.
can't, and if you can't, walk away.
Right.
If something comes in your head that you think they're going to take offense to, walk away. That's the let me. Let me make the right choices for my emotions. If you're hearing something that what's going to come out of your mouth is going to offend somebody, let me take control of my emotions and say, you know what, this conversation's over. Yep. I need to leave.
We need to be done.
Yep, we need to be done and walk away.
And like I said, some of those are very, very difficult, hard conversations to have. But they're also some of the most important conversations to have.
Learning to do those things, if you have any kind of anxiety, depression, anything like that, learning to walk away from a situation that makes your blood pressure rise is really, really important.
Right. And so this morning, our quote is that, let me see how it was. But anyway, if you want God to make changes in your life, then you got to be willing to move your feet. And in all of this here, if you want to allow people to let them, but also let you have got to be willing to move your feet and make the changes that you need to do in your life.
Yep.
You can't just expect everybody else to do it for you. You got to be willing to move your own feet. Because we can really tell people, let them. Well, it's really easy when we don't want to do it or we're being lazy. But if we're doing it out of respect and love, that's a whole different scenario.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And like I said, the thing is that when we say let them, it does not mean let them fly off the handle, let them kill themselves, let them do whatever they would need to do because of reckless behavior. That's not what we're talking about. We need to let them deal with the consequences in their own lives. We need to let them have their own opinions. We need to let them do that. But then we also, like you said, and this is, I think, was so important, is we also need to realize why we are having our own emotions because of what somebody else is doing or not doing. Why we are going to have our own opinions of what somebody is doing or not doing, or what we think they should be doing.
So I have
And
this
that,
poster in my classroom, and it's this girl, and she's got her arms outstretched like this. And it's what can I control and what can I not control? And there's a circle that goes around her. And inside the circle, it's what you can control. So there's like my emotions, what I think, what I say, where I stand, where, you know, who I have around me. And then on the outside of the circle, it has what other people say, what other people think, where other people go, what other people do. It has things that you can't control and you should
right.
not try to control. Because when you try to control those things, all of a sudden you lose control of the things inside of the circle that you can control.
I love
So,
that.
so
And
this
so,
let
no, go
them
ahead.
let me is not a new theory. It's
No,
a very old theory. And she says this. It's a very old theory, but it's got a new twist on it. It's an updated old theory.
right.
And it's just, you know, but yeah, it's fantastic. The book is really good. I am enjoying it. Like I said, I will listen to it a second time because I know I've missed things and I probably misinterpreted some things. And
I
yeah,
can't wait to listen to it. And so it's Let Them by Mel Robbins. And there's an audiobook, but also there's a hard copy
yep,
if you want to read hard copies. And it's a theory that, like I said, for me and what we've been talking about in our spiritual journey, it goes hand in hand. And as Carol was explaining this and we were talking today, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, God was speaking to me through Carol and saying, this is it. This is what I've been talking about. You need to let them experience my love for themselves because you can't do it for them. But that doesn't mean it should take away from your experience of experiencing my love. And so, like I said, I really do appreciate, Carol, your time. I appreciate you taking care of all of the kids in your world and all of the kids. And hold on one second. But I also know that taking care of those kids who, like I said, maybe need a little bit more structure, a little bit more loving, a little bit more of your time. And you do that. And I appreciate you so much for that.
oh,
And
thank
I
you.
appreciate your garden.
Well, I
And so
appreciate
mine
all
does
the work
not
that
look
you've done in my garden. My garden
well.
would not be as beautiful if it wasn't for you.
Oh,
So,
that's not true. I'm not there much, but it's fun to do that. And we were able to do some canning together, and we were able to do some gardening together. So that was fun today, and I do appreciate that. And you know, God gives us these opportunities. So, guys, first of all, thank you once again, Carol, for coming on and talking to us about your understanding of this, you know, of the theory of let them and let me, because this is something, guys, that we need to continue to talk about. And it's something that we need to continue to grow with. And so look up the book, find the book, listen to the book, read the book, whatever. And I'd love to come back and actually take this book. Is it a chapter by chapter? Is that what this is?
mm-hmm.
I would
Yeah.
really like to take this chapter by chapter and talk about it. So
Oh, that would
um
be interesting.
I think so, but wouldn't it be fun to kind of break this down? So if anybody's interested in doing the let them theory on a series basis where we could come on and chat one chapter at a time and really break this down, because I think that this is so important. But it also works with our spiritual journey that we're walking on, our journey in our faith, our journey with all of the other things in our lives, no matter where it is. And so, and like I said, hi Miranda. But as we're going through, once again, like I said, thank you for being here, Carol. We're gonna wrap things up though, because we're at 45 minutes and it finally recorded all the way three
Yay!
takes. 3 takes, but we're here. So, but I want to thank everybody, first of all, for being here tonight. I want to thank everybody for your support of the porch. Share the videos, share the videos, and share the post as we're doing them. That's one way to support the porch. If you want to do this, here's our PayPal. You can do that if you want to do some ministry and help us do some outreach. We appreciate no matter what it is, whether it's your prayers, your financial support, or coming on as a guest. If you have something that you want to share, come on, let me know, and we will bring you on Real Talk, because this was so important. But I really do think that this is something that we can break down and we can allow ourselves to work through. So, but if you have prayers, you guys, or anybody to lift up, hi Cheryl, nice to have you here. If you have people to lift up in prayer, I'd like to have prayers for my husband's Aunt Gloria, as she's still recovering from pneumonia. And prayers for all of the mamas out there who are having new babies, and mamas and daddies, I should say, and are getting good news about that. But also all the parents who are struggling right now, trying to figure out how to get their kids back to school, and all of the things that are there and the stresses that come with that. So if you have any other prayer requests, put them in the comments. We will come back to you from time to time, and I'll come back to this page. But I do want you to know that I appreciate you. And so Wessa still would like us to remember her and her seizures, and she's still having them. So Wessa, we will continue to lift you up in prayer, my dear. And if there's any other ones, put them in the comments. And our Emerald and the Colemans. Yes, so we will continue to lift Emerald and the Colemans up. So if there's any other ones, like I said, just keep putting them in the comments, and we will do that. So Carol, are there any other final thoughts that you want to share before we end?
No, I think we covered just about everything.
Perfect. All right. So want you guys to know that you are necessary, important, and loved where you are and for who you are. And I want you to have a very amazing night. Love you all. Thank you, Carol. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Love you
Thank
all.
you.
Hope to see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye.